Hello and welcome to episode 67 of the Product Biz Podcast. Today we have a special guest, Kristy Pask, and we are going to be talking about the art of multi-channel marketing to get in front of more customers. Now, you already know that growing a small business comes down to getting your products in front of as many people as possible. And getting your products in front of as many people as possible comes down to selling your products on the channels that people are shopping. So during this episode, special guest Kristy will share with us the importance of multi-channel marketing, how to repurpose content to make multi-channel marketing easier on you, and how to truly connect with your target audience across each of the marketing platforms you use, from Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, to your website, Etsy, and more. A little bit about Kristy before we bring her on. She is a business marketing and mindset coach. With over 15 years experience in marketing, she now has worked with more than 50 brands to develop and execute global, national, and local marketing, social media, PR, and sales strategies. She's on a mission to bring together everything she's learned about business and marketing to help small business owners. She is a self-confessed marketing nerd and recovering perfectionist, and her goal is to simplify marketing and help small business owners ditch the overwhelm and stop procrastinating, and instead focus on building momentum while gaining clarity and confidence as they grow their business. We're going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk about selling on multiple different channels, and I'm so excited for you to meet Kristy. So let's bring her on and let's start the conversation. Well, welcome, Kristy, to the Product Biz Podcast. I'm super excited for having you here today.
Thank you so much. So excited to be here.
Yes, this is going to be such a great conversation about repurposing content, social media, marketing. You're such an expert on these topics. So glad to have you here. But before we dive in, I would love for you just to introduce yourself. So tell us a little bit more about what you do and what got you here to be helping people with their Instagram, social media, marketing. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, sure. So I am what I call basically a career marketer. So I started in marketing about 17 years ago now. And obviously worked my way through all of those corporate jobs. I worked predominantly through sort of events, media, fashion. And I sort of got to a point where I kind of felt like I had reached the end of my corporate career. I didn't really want to go any further. And I just really knew that I wanted to do my own thing. So I actually left the corporate world back at the end of 2014 start. So I came into 2015 with no job, just knowing that I wanted to do something different and I wanted to create something for myself. So I actually started my own product-based business at that time. It was actually an online children's wear store. And at the same time, I was also doing a lot of freelance contract marketing work for small businesses. And so I ran both of those alongside each other, had two babies along the way as well. And what I actually found was, as much as I loved running my own online store, I actually really loved helping other small business owners. It was my passion. It was where my heart lied. It was just what I wanted to do. I was more excited to work in other people's businesses than I was to work in my own. So I really decided then to pivot, close that online store, and go all in on helping other small businesses build their dream, create their businesses, and help them take that to the next level through marketing. So that's kind of where, I guess I ended up where I am now. Back in 2020, I also sort of really decided that I wanted to go down more of a bit of a mindset route, because I was finding that, you can have the best strategy in the world, but if you do not have the right mindset, you won't take action. You won't execute that. So having these things down on paper and actually making them happen often can be two very different things. So I went in and I got certified as an NLP practitioner and a success and life coach, just so I could really dive into that stuff. And so I felt comfortable doing that. So today I am a marketing and mindset coach for creative small business owners.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Such a beautiful story. And I 100% agree with you on the mindset part and love what you said so beautifully right there of, like, a lot of people know what they got to do, but they don't do it for some reason. It's like those beliefs, it's those doubts, it's those stories we tell ourselves. So I love hearing that you also focus on the mindset part of things. I think that is so big, so critical, and so crucial, and so needed too. Do you find with the work that you do on both marketing and mindset. Do you find that, like, where does most of your time lay with people? Is it more the marketing? Is it 50-50? Is it 80-20? Like, what happens there with some of your clients?
I find, look, it's usually I would say 50-50. People want to speak about the marketing. They want to know that they're doing the right thing, that they're making the right moves, that they've got the correct plans in place, that it is right for them. But then on the other hand, we always come back to, okay, like, we've got the plan. What's going on? We haven't done anything, this didn't happen. We didn't, get in touch with that person. We didn't bring this to life. So what's happening? What's stopping you? And so we do often end up sort of going back a little bit to the mindset stuff. And I think it is one of those things. I know for me, certainly when I started my online business, I had a marketing background. So I kind of thought marketing would be really easy for me. Marketing my own business would be no trouble at all. I know marketing, it's what I do. But when the buck stopped with me, when I was in charge of the final decisions, when it sort of came down to me, I would find as well that I would freeze. And you think that it's a strategy problem. You don't know what you're doing. You doubt yourself and all those sorts of things. But it's actually more a mindset thing. So I think sometimes we don't even realize that we need help with the mindset stuff. It's just like we just think that we don't know what we're doing or things like that. But it's really like going back to instilling that belief and, reminding ourselves that we do know what we're doing and there is no wrong decision. You just have to make a decision. So
Yes.
it is really split.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That is so spot on. And with a lot of the people that I work with, 100%, like they come in for the strategy, but what we spend most of our time talking about is, okay, like what's going on underneath the surface. And because what at least I find, and I would love to hear from you, like what are some of the main mindset struggles that people, that you see that people struggle with? And of course, we're going to then dive into the fun marketing stuff too. But what I find with a lot of my clients, it truly comes down to just like not believing that it's possible, not thinking that they can do it, or not thinking like, oh, that was easy for them, but for me, it's so much more challenging. It's just not having like this belief in themselves. So a lot of what I work with my clients on is a little bit of like motivational and helping them see like, hey, it totally is possible. But when you work with your clients on mindset, like give me a little bit more context on what do people really struggle with on the mindset side? Like what comes off, is it also lack of belief in themselves, or is it something else that bubbles up to the surface?
Absolutely. So much of lack of belief in themselves that comes up. Comparison is a huge one. They see someone who's done it before them, who's doing really well, and they think that, they've got no chance because they've already made it. They own the market. There's no space for them when that is, as you know, absolutely not true. Another really big one that I deal with, which is also something I think I fell in love with really exploring and researching and understanding, is perfectionism. And that is like the insane expectations that we put on ourselves, that self-doubt, that lack of self-trust, that really going into that all or nothing mindset is another one that I really find happens a lot with people that I work with. So they might commit to, let's say, social media. I'm going to post I'm going to post 3 times this week, right? And then it's Friday and they haven't posted once. And then they're like, well, there's no point in posting now because I didn't post the other 3 days or the other 2 days. So there's no point. And it's that all or nothing mindset.
Yes.
And so they get into that thinking like, if I can't do it properly, if I can't do it perfectly, if I can't follow the plan, then there's kind of no point in doing it, when that's actually not the case as well. Getting that one post out today, sending that email this week that you didn't send the previous 3 weeks, whatever that looks like, is always going to be better than not doing anything at all. So it's learning to take that messy, imperfect action. So many of the people that I work with as well, they're parents, some people are, still working other jobs. They've got so many things going on in their lives that, things happen and things come up and it takes away their time and their focus. And then they sort of end up beating themselves up about it. But we're just like, no, like you can jump back in. You can do this without doing that. You don't have to follow the imaginary rules that you've kind of made for yourself. It is okay to show up imperfectly. So long as we're persistent, I think like we will always get to where we want to go.
Yes. Oh, that is such a good reminder and such good advice. And really, when we think about it, it's like we put all this pressure on ourselves. And it's like, why do we put all this pressure? And what I see with so many people too is like they have these expectations that then lead to massive pressure. And then, like you said, turns into this all or nothing. And as soon as it seems like it's nothing, it's like, cool, well, I'm not going to focus on anything, right? I'm just going to let it go. That example that you said about posting, it's really interesting. One of the coaches that I work with, when you said all or nothing, what he says is instead of all or nothing, it should be small or something. Like just do something
Yes,
small or just do something, right? And then once we start
absolutely.
to actually make that action, then you start to feel better and you're like, okay, cool, I'm back in the game. I'm excited again. And it's just like that small little action that's needed to get back to feeling excited and motivated about growing your business, right?
Absolutely. And it's so often as well, those small things, we think that they don't add up to anything. We think if we just do something small, what's the point in even doing it at all? If I can't go all in, I won't bother. But it's those little things done consistently and persistently over time that add up to the great things in the end. So always worth
Yes.
doing the little
Oh
things
my
when you
gosh.
can. I love it.
Love it. Oh, okay. Such great insight, and so glad to have you sharing that. I know that's super valuable for the person listening right now. So thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Well, let's switch gears a little bit to more on the marketing side. So tell me a little bit more. I know you focus on marketing, but let's talk about holistic marketing. Like, what is that? How do you recommend people to go about it? Tell me more about this.
Absolutely. So holistic marketing is, I guess, what I like is referred to often you'll hear as multi-channel marketing. So rather than focusing all of your efforts in one particular area, it's about looking at, the big picture holistically. How are people finding you? How are people searching for a product just like yours? What places are they turning to? What are they actually doing? And where can you be that's going to help them become more likely to find you? So I always look at, so often people go, I just need social media and I just need to be on Instagram. That's all I need. That's all I want. That's all I'm going to do. And Instagram, I think, is a beautiful place to start for so many creative businesses, for product based businesses. It's a great place to start. But what I also really like to look at people getting them doing is, okay, like you've got a website, let's make this great as well. Let's optimize this. Let's make sure that the SEO is working. I don't know if it's the millennial in me, but for me, when I'm searching for a new product or service, one of the first things that I do is I turn to organic search. I'm Googling what it is I'm looking for. And so if you are only relying on Facebook or Instagram, you have less of a chance of coming up in my search. So it's about looking at like where people are sort of looking and finding you, but then also looking at how people make their purchase decisions. So that's, talking about putting them on your email list as well, really building that up so that they get a chance to know you, they get a feel for your brand. You can sort of nurture them from there as well. And we know that email marketing has one of the highest ROIs of any marketing activity. So why would you not, build that email list? It can be email marketing, I find, is an interesting one because email marketing, building your list can actually be time consuming. It can be, slow moving at times, but it is so worth it. And again, it's going back to that doing something small. Emailing a list of 50 people is better than emailing or not emailing anyone. So just looking at that customer journey, that buyer journey, where are people looking for a product or a service like yours, and then doing what we can to sort of put the feelers out. With
Mhm.
all of that, though, I do really want to emphasize that I definitely don't, I guess, promote people spread themselves too thin. You don't need to be on every platform and every channel, and you don't need to be doing all of those things. I work with a lot of beautiful clients who actually repurpose their content across different channels. So when you create a really great reel for Instagram, that is something that you can quite literally take and then you can put it on TikTok. You can put it down on Pinterest as an idea pin. You can also take that and you can put it onto YouTube. So one of my clients just started taking all of her face to camera reels that she's creating. She's skincare brand. And so she does a lot of like really great educational content, how to use this, and talks to skin problems and things like that. And she's just started putting it over on YouTube Shorts just to see how it would go. And to start with, no views, 30 views, 50 views, 120 views, 5,000 views, now inquiries and sales. And
Wow.
we were only having a chat about it the other day. Like she said, it takes her an extra 5-10 minutes just to upload this to YouTube. She was already creating it for Instagram.
Mhm.
So, and now people are finding her over there on that channel as well. And she doesn't have to create anything from scratch. It's just people are, the algorithms work differently. They use those platforms differently. And so that's how she's coming across their paths over there.
Yes, I love that so much because just that overall strategy of number one, like multi-channel marketing. We do have to be on select certain platforms depending on how people shop, but that doesn't mean spread yourself too thin, try to be in all places at all times, doing all the things because we all know that leads to burnout and then that doesn't lead to any progress, leads to more like resentment with our business than anything else. So I love hearing
Absolutely.
you say that because that's just such a great strategy of let's be smart on being on as many channels as possible, but not in a way that's going to burn you out. Let's be strategic and take one piece of content and purpose it in multiple different ways. Because I'm a big believer too. And I know we had a conversation on Etsy on your podcast about, yeah, you got to be where the people shop. So if people are shopping at Etsy, we got to learn how to do that. And I totally agree with you that Instagram got to be on one of those platforms, but it's not the only place to be. If you're only trying to grow your business on Instagram, at least from my perspective, I don't go on Instagram to shop. I go on Instagram to be entertained. And you think about most people, most average, just random people, they're going on Instagram just to scroll, to be entertained, to get away from work, to numb their mind after like a long day. And sure, you may get some impulse purchases, but I'd rather have people be, and it sounds like you're on the same page, like if people are going on Google searching for a product, cool. Let's work on your SEO and make sure you're going to be there when they're actually in a shopping state versus an entertaining state. So it doesn't mean like
Absolutely.
Instagram isn't necessary, but I love what you said of like, yeah, let's go where the people are shopping and really optimize that. And then let's be strategic with just getting some content in those other places to be where people are, but not by spreading yourself too thin.
Absolutely. And I do often find as well, they might come across, they'll organically find you through search, something like that. They'll land on your website, but then they want to go to your socials and they want to see who you are, what you're doing, how you're engaging with people, and what else you've got. Like they love to get that feel of the brand. So that's kind of as well how I also encourage people sort of look at these platforms, and it's an extension of your
Mm,
brand, who you are and what you do, and people use it to research as well, not necessarily
yeah.
to make their final purchase decision, but to help them along the way.
I like that a lot because that honestly takes a little bit of pressure away from Instagram on like, oh my God, I need to use Instagram to make money, and more like, oh my God, let me use Instagram to represent my brand, to show people who I am, to really just showcase what I'm about, what my products are, more like using it as a magazine for people to view versus like using it as like a sales catalog, like buy right now. So that's a super
Yes.
interesting point of view. And I think just takes a lot of pressure off of social media to not have to like be getting all these followers and sales and just have it as an extension of your brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, cool. So let me ask you this question. When we talk about social media, obviously some of the main ones are Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I know Threads kind of had like a moment of fame recently. There's Twitter. What's your strategy with your clients, or what do you advise people? Is it like pick one, focus there, repurpose elsewhere? What's your social media strategy? What do you recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. It's pick one and start there always. And it's sometimes, like for most people, I do like to say pick where you feel comfortable, where you want to create content, where you can see yourself creating content in a way that feels good, because we do want to keep that content coming through relatively frequently. So if it's really hard for you, if it doesn't feel good, if you don't like it, you're not going to show up there. You don't want to create the content, so let's focus on something that you really love. And then once we sort of begin to master that, and then that feels really good, then we look at expanding to other places. What I do also find is, obviously, like we said before, you need to go where the people are, where your customer is hanging out, what platforms are they on, and making sure that you are there. But also, like, I do think that most of our customers, for most businesses, they are on Instagram. And I know that there was this, with TikTok, I know that there has been a lot of people saying, Gen Z are on TikTok, and therefore, if that is your target audience, that is where you need to be. However, research still shows us that Gen Z still prefer Instagram a lot of the time
Mm.
as their main social media platform. So people are on the platform. So pick something that works for you and that feels really good for you. I do also know someone that loves TikTok because they love it sort of makes them feel a little bit more anonymous because they don't know as many people there. So they kind of feel like they can just let loose, have fun, show this side to them that they're a little bit more reserved about showing on Instagram. So they're just having some fun over there at the moment just to sort of get them into the feel of that.
Yeah.
What I do also want to say as well is like when you are creating this content, if this is the thing as well, if it's not working, if it's, it doesn't feel good, you're not getting the engagement, you're not getting the click throughs, people aren't really finding you. Let's take a step back and have a look at like what's actually working before we expand into other channels, because the solution is rarely creating more content. It's actually going back and having a look at why isn't this working? Where can I tweak? Where can I pivot? What can I do differently? How can I stand out? How can I begin to own this space? And it's really like, then I say, like, once you've kind of like got a really good grasp on that platform, then you can look to moving to other platforms. And I do always really like to start with, like I said, like what's easy to move to. So if you're creating a lot of really great video content, then it's really easy, or it can be really easy just to, like we said, repurpose that to like TikTok and to YouTube and to Pinterest and things like that. So it's about taking that one piece of content and then making it work harder for you, rather than, when you are taking on other platforms, starting from scratch everywhere.
Yeah. And one thing that you said that really stuck out to me too is just feeling confident in one platform before you go and just throw spaghetti at a wall at another platform, right? It's like, okay, we're learning
Absolutely.
Instagram, we're trying to figure out how to get engagement and connect and build relationship. But then there's this new platform, like, okay, let's go there. And it's like, well, you haven't gotten the groundwork done of like truly learning how to master this platform. So let's focus there. And then once you got that and you know like how to speak, how to connect to the marketing words, the type of videos, cool, then let's repurpose that in other places too. Otherwise, it's just repurposing stuff that doesn't work on one platform and then multiple other ones. So I love how you said that. When we talk specifically about Instagram, when you said, like when people say, okay, Instagram isn't working, well, let me try a different platform or let me go there. What advice would you give to someone who isn't getting a lot of like engagement on Instagram or sales on Instagram? What would you recommend them to do, either in terms of what to assess or what content they should focus on? Tell me your advice there.
Yeah, so I think if you aren't seeing the results that you want on any social media platform, for me, it's never about creating more content or jumping to another platform. It's actually about going back to those marketing foundations. Who is our ideal customer? What are they looking for? What are their pain points? What are their desires? How do they speak? How do they want to be spoken to? All those sorts of things as well. And then going back and having a look at what we're actually creating and what we're actually doing, and working out, are we actually connecting with them in that way, or are we missing the mark? And I think as well, when it comes to positioning and branding, that is so important. And if you sort of don't have that nailed as well, that can sort of be a part where maybe you don't quite hit the nail on the head with that ideal customer. And
Mhm.
I have seen as well, people will, they'll have a really great product, they've got a really great idea, and they are doing great things, but they're speaking to the wrong person. And their content's really appealing to this one group of people. However, that group of people, unfortunately, aren't the people that are going to buy. And what we need to do is we kind of just need to pivot, and we need to find the right people, reposition ourselves, and really look for ways to do that as well. And then so it's about going back to that overall marketing strategy and then making sure that we are connecting with and finding the right people, and then sort of bringing that back in and almost, trying again with this different messaging, this different positioning, and just changing things up.
Yeah, and I think it's super interesting how you mentioned branding and positioning in there too, because I think branding, that's one of, at least in the last 6 months or so, I feel like that's the biggest thing that I've seen just massive importance on. Because if you have a great product, but people don't know what it's about, what your brand stands for, or your brand doesn't stand out against everyone else, like that's going to be a really hard uphill battle. Even if you have the best product, but your branding is maybe just vanilla, or maybe just a little bit boring, or maybe just DIY, you did it yourself. I think totally nowadays for small business owners, to get the exposure that you want and to get the actual just hype that you want behind your business, it's going to be your branding. Like your brand has to stand out. It has to be against a sea of all of these other people and other brands that are selling similar products. And yours has to be like that wow factor that just connects with people, that draws their attention in.
Absolutely, 1000% agree. And I think we are living in this really amazing, unique time where anyone can come up with an idea. If they've got the know how, if they're creative, whatever that looks like, they can bring something to life. They can create a product and then they can quite literally put that on Instagram, build a website, and start selling it tomorrow. And so I think that that is a really, really amazing thing that can happen right now. The problem is, though, like you said, when we're not actually taking the time to build that brand, to really understand who our clients and our customers are, and to sort of take that to that next level, we do often end up kind of just blending into a sea of products that kind of look and feel kind of like ours, and you're not really standing out in any real way. So
Yes.
yeah, it is like there's so much opportunity, and it's so great that we live in this time where you can just start a business tomorrow, and that is a really, really cool thing. But unfortunately, you can start a business tomorrow, but so can all these other people. And so you need to really find a way that you can stand out, that your brand can be, unique in the market. It doesn't have to be better than anyone else's. It's not about being better than the other brand. It's about being the good fit for your ideal client and showing them who you are and why you are the right brand for them.
Yeah, I love that. So when we talk about some Instagram content, you talked about like who you are, what your brand is about, why you're a right fit for them. So when someone's thinking about, okay, I want to refine my target audience, my customers, I want to position myself differently. I know you gave the example of maybe you're targeting this customer, but your product may not be appealing to that type of group of people. How does someone really hone in on this? Like, how do they determine, how do they find out, how do I position myself, or how do I speak to the right customers? Do you have any tactical steps or advice to give someone who may be in that spot?
Yeah, so I find as well one of the best ways, this is a step that I so often feel like we so often skip over as business owners, is to actually go out there and do the research and to ask people, what do you want? What do you like? Does this appeal to you? Why? Why not? Does this speak to you? What is it that you want? And we're so driven by emotion. So many of our purchase decisions are actually based on emotion, that we do actually really, really need to focus on connecting with that human element as well. So number one, I would always say, is as simple as asking people, what do you want? What do you like? And sort of really understanding how you can help them, or how you can make their life better, or how you can create something that is actually what they're looking for. So it's that first step, is that market research and really understanding what it is that they're looking for. But then also really going back and, having a look as well at what you're creating and how that actually, lands for that customer. So you spoke about, professional images and things like that, like the branding. And when I speak about people sort of perhaps attracting the wrong person, you might have a brilliant product, really great quality, really good high end, really nice high end product. But your branding and your marketing is a bit sort of, DIY, ho hum. It's not really attracting that person who has, that level of income, or who is willing to purchase something at that price. What it's actually doing is appealing to sort of the mass market who love it, who, have aspirations to look this way, feel this way, to do these things, to live this lifestyle, but they can't actually afford to buy your product. They're probably looking for a product that kind of looks and feels like yours, but perhaps is more at a lower price point. So it's really connecting the two as well. And making sure that your branding and everything that you're putting out there is actually really connecting, and it's highlighting the value, and it's really connecting with that right person. Because I always say, like, it's not that you're too expensive. It's that, people either don't see the value in what you're offering, or your branding and positioning isn't reflective of the quality and the positioning of your
Yes.
product. Yeah.
I love that, to make sure your branding aligns with your pricing. Like if you are charging a premium price, cool, you better have some premium photos, some premium website copy, a premium looking website, because that's going to align with the right people. I love that concrete example that you gave, because I think that's going to just click for a lot of people. Like, okay, here I am saying one word that my brand is this, but here I am not actually portraying that with my imagery, my content, etc. So how do we make sure that we are targeting the right people and also portraying what you said, positioning towards them? Love that. And one other thing that you said that I think was super important is understanding how your product helps someone. Because this is a big thing that I'm a believer of, that every single product out there is solving a problem, even if it's a candle, because you're essentially solving the problem of someone wanting to relax at night or have a peaceful environment, a cozy home. Jewelry, you're solving the problem of having someone to feel more confident, right? To feel good about what they're wearing. I know a lot of people struggle because they're like, well, I sell artwork, I'm not solving a problem, or candles aren't solving a problem, jewelry. But it's like every single product out there is solving some sort of problem. It may not be like skincare solving a skin condition, but it's still a problem that's being solved. So I love how you said knowing who your product helps and how it helps them, and talking about that, because I think that is something that totally connects with people too when they see that and read that. And then you're starting to evoke more of that emotion that gets people to actually want to purchase too, right?
Absolutely. And I love that you brought up, like, everyone's obviously solving a problem and like dealing with those, I guess, pain points. It made me think of, we do often hear that, you need to understand your customers' pain points. And I think with some of those products that you mentioned as well, within our marketing, like we do need to understand their pain points and what problem we solve. But it's also, you don't have to speak directly to those every time. Like, let's tell them, like, about the lifestyle, about, the aspirations, and, creating that cozy, beautiful, warm home, or, really expressing yourself through this piece of art. You can really sort of like turn it around and really speak to them in a way that makes them go, wow, I want that. I didn't even know that I wanted that. I didn't even know that this was a thing, but here I am and I want this and I have to have this now.
Yes, because of what it actually means to have that, what it means to like embody it and feel it. Oh, such a good example. I love what you
Yes.
just shared. Awesome, awesome. Okay, cool. Well, as we talk about like multi-channel marketing, we talked a bit about just branding and positioning and the amazing content there. Do you have any other final tips on multi-channel marketing, or any last pieces of advice that you want to share with our listeners today?
Yeah, sure. So I think, what, let's go back to sort of, I guess, where the conversation began, and really taking those small steps. So, when we're starting out, if you're closer to the beginning of the journey, really taking that pressure off yourself and allowing yourself to test and to try and to see what works and what doesn't work, and really taking the pressure off yourself, that you need to get this right, that every piece of content has to provide this insane amount of value, or it needs to bring you X amount of dollars. Like, it's okay to test and try and see what works and see what feels good. And you'll also begin to work out like what feels good for you as a business owner, as a creative, as a brand owner as well, where you want to go. Also knowing as well, I think with so many businesses, where we think we're going to sit or what that looks like, sometimes that does end up changing. We decide that we want to target a different area, or we want to do something differently, and then knowing that that's okay too. But I think really going back to taking that pressure off, giving it a shot, seeing what works, see what feels good, and then allowing yourself to grow and change and develop and move from that place, rather than putting that pressure on yourself right now to have every channel marketed, nailed right now. Give yourself time and know that you will get there so long as you persist.
Yes, so beautifully said. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much for sharing so much awesome expertise. This has been a great conversation. And before we wrap up, I would just love for you to share where people can find you: Instagram, podcasts, courses, programs, anything that you want to share. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. So you can find me online. My website is just kristypask.com. All of the details are in there on how you can work with me in a holistic marketing, multi-channel, social media point of view. I love working with creative small business owners. You can also find me on Instagram, just at Kristy Pask. And I also have a podcast, which is called Unpack This, which I release weekly episodes in as well. So they're probably the three best places to find me online.
Awesome. I'll make sure to link them in the show notes so people can find you. And just thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. It has been such a great conversation. So thank you for being part of the Product Biz podcast.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.